Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are looking into the concept of very important concept related to SQL security management, and I welcome back to you for this session number 4 on SQL security management. So to start with, I just want to show you a diagram and I just want to explain you one diagram. We will relate this with the security of the SQL Server. So think that we have a locker and there is a register with some valuable information, and you kept this register in the locker. That is the assumption here. So now we have a house wherein there is a main gate. If you want to go into the house, first you need to have keys or access to this particular door. If you have access to this door, you can enter into here and you can roam out of this red line, but you cannot go into this if you don't have keys for this house main door. You have keys for the main gate, but if you don't have keys for this house main door, you cannot enter. So think that you had the keys for this house main door also. Now once you enter here, you can move here freely without any problem, but you cannot enter into the green zone. You can move this into the red line because you have keys for this house main door. So to enter here, you should have your keys for this room door. This is a room or some bedroom door, something like that. You need to have keys for this particular room, then only you can enter here. However, even you enter into the green zone, if you don't have permission to open the locker, you cannot open this and you cannot get this valuable information. So I just want to show you this example and we will relate this with the actual security management of SQL Server. Okay, so coming to the main gate, think that the main gate is in our real-time technological word. Main gate means Windows Server login details. Okay, main gate means Windows Server login details, and the house main door means it is SQL Server login details. Then the door means permission to open the door. Okay, here permission to open the door, permission or the lock to open the door. So the login of this SQL, you logged in here, but there should be a way or the route from the this particular thing to get here. We will add this as permission to door. Here locker, once you enter into this is a locker permission. Now we will go into the example of our Windows Server. First, what we need? We need a Windows Server. Okay, let us get into the Windows Server. So first point here is we need to get into the Windows Server. So we have here the downloads. We have an okay. We went near to the main gate, and we are trying to put the key into the lock. So if the key is correct for that, it will allow us to enter into the operating system. Means this particular main door is successful. This particular main door is success. Okay, now I am able to log in here. Until here I am happy. I am able to rotate around this, and I am able to log in into the Windows. Now if I want to log in into the SQL server, what is SQL server? We will see whether SQL server is there or not. It is, first thing is, the SQL server should be running so that we can access, means there should be a room to enter into that. So it should, there should be a running, means that we have an option to try with some lock. So as it is running, we need to connect or enter into the operating system. Now my SQL server name is VM1. Okay, I have access into the operating system. I am here without any issues. I'm able to rotate around here, but if I want to enter into the through this gate, I want to have an another access or another permission. Okay, so here I have authentication. Okay, I can try this one. So I want to try. Okay, test1. Test1 is the login, means the key name. The key name here is test1, or I can make it as, I'll give some meaningful word. I will create new login with name as house main door. Okay, house main door. Now I want to enter into the house here. I want to enter into the house main door. That means connect to the access SQL server, house main door. Okay, so I'm getting an error, means that the key which I have here is not working. So you cannot enter into this particular zone without proper details. The same way, you cannot enter into our SQL server without proper details. So now you are able to enter here, your key is working here, and you are able to enter here, and it is successful. You are able to enter here. Now you are here. Permission to the door. Here I mean door means the, here this is a door. Think that we'll make it as room door, right? We'll make as room door. Okay, so here I am able to log in into this particular house main door successfully. Now I want to access this particular room door. Okay, there is a room door. I want to enter into the room door. I will try to click. The database room door is not accessible, means that the person is not having proper keys here, so that he cannot access. What should be done here? So the house owner should give you the access, right? The house owner, or this is a house owner. Think that you came for as a looking for a rent, and you are a tenant, and you have limited access in every line. So the house owner need to give you the proper permission with the into the door. So think that I'll give the house. Okay, so the house owner is trying to give you the access. House owner is giving the access to the room door to just enter. Okay, now the owner told you, saying that I gave you the access to the to the door, and you can enter now. So I'll try to get into this again, like home door, right? Home door, I am able to check login or not. I will check. I'm able to log in, yes, successfully. Then I want to enter into the door here. So the door here is room door. So I will try to click OK. Now I am able to access the room door. See here, I am able to access the room door, and the permission, I also have permission to read the data in the locker. To read the data in the locker, we'll see what is the data in the locker. Think that we have a data. This is the data in the locker, and we will see what is the data in the locker. See, this is the data in the locker. So finally and successfully, our owner gave all the required access or the keys to get this data which is in the locker. So hope you have understood the concept of the SQL access. First, point number one. See, point number one, this is OS. Means Windows authentication system. Windows, you are logging in with here. Later, you are logging. This is the main gate, very big main gate. Inside, it is a house main door. House main door, and later this is the room door, internal room door. So these are the layers which it is showing, which is the reason I explained you clearly with an example, so that you should not forget the SQL user related data, user related concept. So here we have two concepts. Here we have two concepts. One is called as login. One is called as login. Okay, this is called as a login. The login means this is the SQL server. This is called the login, which I enter using the SQL server instance. And another one is user. User means the key with name which I can access into the main per door, which is called a database. Here login here as SQL instance, and here it is a database. Here it is a database. See here, now I am able to enter into the OS with the details. Later, with the help of the login, I can enter into the SQL instance. Once I enter, with the help of the user, I can enter into this particular room. And if I have access or information or permissions to read the data, I can take the data here and read. So these are the layers I will show you. So one thing is we already logged in into the OS, so no point of here. Now I want a login. See here, I want a login. See, you can see here login. I am using a login call. Means I am entering into the server, SQL server. Enter here, I am enter. So I used a login which is called as house main door. I used a login which is called as house main door. This is a login, okay, which now I entered here. Now I want access to the database, that is called as user. So I am able to, previously I checked, right, I am able to access, you can database, security, user, you see house main door. In user also, this user and this login are mapped to each other, which is the reason I am able to log in here and I am able to log in into here. So here the important point is, what is the difference between the login and the user? I hope you should be able to answer this by now with this explanation. Login is a process to enter into the SQL Server instance. Login is a process to enter into the SQL Server instance. And instant user means a process which is used to enter into the database. Login to enter into SQL Server instance. User to access the database, means at database level. User is at access to the instance level. Sorry, user is accessed at the database level, and the login is the access to the SQL instance level. I hope this is clear by now. Okay, so next is we have types of authentication. Okay, so types of authentication means we have two types of authentication. So one is called, you can see, Windows authentication, and another is called SQL Server authentication. If you see here, Windows authentication, we cannot able to edit anything. It is taking by default VM1 Azure admin. Means that the login which we'll use to log in into Windows. Windows authentication means the login which we logged in into the Windows. See here, VM1 Azure admin. So you can see here VM1 Azure admin. So you cannot change here. This particular ID should be able to access the database. Connect. So now I am able to connect to the SQL instance with the help of Windows authentication. Means Windows login, the one which I logged in, the ID which I logged in is VM1 Azure admin. I am able to log in with that. So however, even you have login, even you have this Windows ID, it should have access on this. So see, with the single key of the main door, he cannot access everything and go here. So he need to get the access on this from your owner, so that you will be able to access. How you are able to access it? Because in the logins you are able to see this, the Windows authenticated. If you see here, VM1 oblique, it is called a Windows authentication. If you don't see anything, if it is a plain one, it is a SQL authentication. SQL authentication required to give passwords, login name and password. I'll try to, here I will select SQL authentication, and I need to give login, I need to give password. Whether this login is available here, yes. The password is correct or not, we'll try. So it is giving wrong password, means I need to correct the password and I'm able to log in. Means we have two types of logins here. One is Windows authentication, one is SQL authentication. Windows authentication is the one which you will be able to access with the help of the Windows authenticated login, and SQL authentication is related to with the login and password. While installing also, we have an option. I'll just show that we have an option to select that Windows or SQL authentication. I'll show this during setup. We need to select an option which shows whether it is how we can select the authentication type. So perform new one, click here, developer, accept, database, data quality, okay, next. So I'm clarifying you everything about the login here, named instance, Akeesoft SQL SQL instance. Next, It is checking whether this particular instance name is available or not. It will show here. Next, you can see here server configuration. Authentication mode is Windows authenticated mode, and mixed authentication. Mixed authentication is, I showed you, right? I am able to log in with Azure admin as a Windows authentication and house main door with SQL login and password. While setup, we can give here the details so that we can enter later. So here we can enter the details with the password. So the default login here is the password which we are entering here is for the login called SCA. During the setup, we will enter here with the login called SA. And SQL submission here, it is asking, as we are using SQL authentication, and here giving password is a SQL authenticated mode, and Windows authentication will just add our current user because we want Windows authentication also. I clicked on current, add current user. Now see here Azure VM1 Azure admin I added here, which is the reason once we installation is complete, we'll have access to this, and this is the SA. So both, as we selected mixed authentication, we can enter into the both by mixed authentication or the SA password related, we can enter. So here I am able to log. During installation itself, we will be giving mixed authentication. So I am able to log in with SQL login and password. I am also able to log in with the Windows authenticated because I gave access. SQL administrator unrestricted means top level access. It will all by default it will get here, and I will connect. So I am able to connect into the two authenticated modes. So I showed you what is Windows authentication, what is SQL authentication, and what is mixed authentication. So I will show you some example. Suppose you can see here, we what we will do is, if you want to see the properties, you can see here security. You can see here server authentication as Windows authentication mode, SQL Server and Windows authentication mode. What I will do is, I will only make Windows authentication, means for SA login I don't want to use login and password model, only Windows authenticated mode I will use. So whenever you change here, we need to restart SQL services. So to get that into reflected, so I restarted SQL service. Remember that now we have access to Windows authentication only. No SQL authentication means with SA you cannot log in because we disabled the SQL authentication mode. We disabled the SQL authentication mode. We enabled only Windows authentication. So hope you should be able to understand by now what is the differences. Now I'll again revert back to this. Again, this one will also this one also require server reboot, SQL services restart. So now once I fix this, now I'll be able to access this login with SQL authentication mode also. See here, now I'll be able to access into SQL authentication mode also. So this is, if we are able to log in into Windows authentication, they are called mixed authentication. So creating a login, Windows authentication, SQL authentication. How we can create a login? Suppose here I want to create a login. So I think I remember I login. I want to create a SQL authentication, and I'll just give login. We can give some password, any password. This is where we can create SQL authentication login. Okay, so I can click on OK. The login will be created. SQL authentication Akeesoft login will be created. I will be able to access that without any problem. So How we can create the Windows authentication? Windows authentication means it should be available in the Windows level. So how we will see uh, what are the logins available on the Windows level. So we'll see. I'm just seeing what are the logins available in the Windows level Azure admin. I'll create another user saying that Akeesoft Windows admin. Akeesoft Win and description is asking password. I can create password did not match. See, I just created a Windows login which is Akeesoft Win. Now I will try to create a login. So now we will try. I will try to create a login, and here I'll show you how to create a login. Search now Akeesoft Win. I'll search whether it is there or not. So it is able to log in. Click on OK, and I can just click on OK. See here, Akeesoft. When I log in into the server with this particular login, Akeesoft Win, then I will be also be able to access this instance because it is already part of this. So I hope you understood all these concept related to this particular thing. So we'll see what is an orphan user at the end. Orphan user is very much important. So as I told, if I want to access to the database, we need to map the particular we need to map the particular login with it should be there, and it should be mapped. You can see user mapping. So the mapping is done. It is having access. It is tick mark means mapping is done. So means user is mapped. What is an orphan user means? An user which is not mapped to the login, which is not mapped to the login. Now it is mapped. So what I will do is I will delete the login. I will delete the login. So you can see here now we don't have any login with house main door. Means this is called as orphan user. To check the orphan user, we can sp underscore help underscore just will I forgot sp underscore orphan user in SQL. What it is showing, how we can check the orphan user. So it is going to change. Okay, change users login report. So here I can see the report. I want to see the any orphan users are there or not. Okay, so if I execute, you can see here house main door is an orphan user. It is an orphan user means it is not having any related login. So what I will do is I'll just create a login with that, with SQL authentication, and I'll click OK. Now I am able to see the login here, and I am able to see the, we will see execute it again. Still this is termed as an orphan user because we have the user at login level, we have the login at login level, and we have user, but are they mapped? As I told, if they are mapped to each other only, that is a valid login and a user. If they are not mapped to each other, they are independent. It is not having any mapping. It is not having any mapping. So it will not have any access to the database also. Now we'll see whether we can able to access the database or not, because we have login and we have login and we have user also, but it is not mapped here. I'll try to access log the database and see if we are able to access. So not accessible because they are not mapped. So if we have the login and user both are available, we can fix it by doing some fixing process. There are multiple process. I'll try to use an auto fix model. I'll try to fix an auto fix. Login here is main door. So now if you see here, you will not be able, it is not mapped here. Once I fix this one, you will see that they are mapped to each other and able to access. Now you can see that is the number of orphan users fixed by using users was 1. Now I'll see properties, user mapping. See here it is mapped. And am I able to access the database now? We'll see. Perfect, we are able to access. So now we identified the orphan user and we will search it again. So you can see no orphan user. We identified the orphan user and we fixed it so that we are able to access without any problem. So that's it guys for this session. I hope I clearly explained everything about the user and the login and the SQL security management, which is very important in the interviews. Without question on security management, the interview will not end. So knowing this is so much important so that you should be aware of each point which I explained today. So that's it guys for today. I hope you like this video and I request you to subscribe to our channel and share the videos to the people who are looking for the jobs in the scope of SQL DBA. This will help them also. If you like the video, please like, share, subscribe and comment your questions if you have anything. I'll be looking and I'll try to respond back to you. Thank you very much for your time.